Good evening. My name is Paul Barrett. I'm the Dean of the College of Business Economics. I welcome you tonight to our Executive in Residence program. Before we actually get started in the formal part of the program, we have a very special set of awards we want to give out. I'm going to invite Matt Pachaco for our Alumni Advisory Board for the Business School. He has 2 awards he's going to present. He knows he's got about 5 minutes because I got the hook.
Well, good evening, everybody. As Dean Barrett said, my name is Matt Pachaco. I'm a proud 2004 graduate of Longwood. Over the past 6 years, I've had the privilege of serving on the Alumni Advisory Board here at the College of Business Economics. Our board is committed to the continued advancement of the college through such initiatives as fundraising, curriculum review and development, and interaction with students, faculty, and staff through such things as in-class lectures, mock interviews, and active participation in the growing mentor program, which I'm hoping some of you are part of, which was founded by one of our board members. Each year, the board recognizes 2 outstanding alumni who are actively carrying on Longwood's mission of building citizen leaders that make a positive contribution to society. The Distinguished Alumni Award celebrates an alumnus of the College of Business and Economics who graduated more than 10 years ago, has enjoyed significant career success, serves his or her local community, and contributes financially or with service to Longwood. This year's recipient of the Distinguished Alumni Award is Brad Schwartz. Brad graduated from Longwood in 1984 with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration. In 2009, he was named CEO of Monarch Financial Holdings, which currently maintains more than $1 billion in assets. As CEO, Brad leads Monarch Bank, OBX Bank, Monarch Investments, and Monarch Bank Private Wealth. He is also recently elected to a 3-year term on the board of directors at the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond. In addition to his many professional responsibilities, Brad serves on the Executive Leadership Council of Junior Achievement of Greater Hampton Roads. He's an active participant on the board of directors of the Hampton Roads Partnership and was recently appointed to the Longwood Board of Visitors. Please join me in congratulating this year's Distinguished Alumni Award winner, Mr. Brad Schwartz. Brad.
Oh, gotta do it again.
Thank you. Dean Barrett, I didn't know this was going to be a big photo op. Our second honor, the Rising Star Alumni Award, is annually presented to a graduate of the College of Business and Economics within the past 10 years who's on the path to career success, is involved in service to his or her community, and contributes to Longwood either financially or in service. Tonight, the Alumni Advisory Board is excited to present this year's award to Jody Sauls. Jody graduated in 2008 with a BS in Business Administration, concentrating in management. After participating in an effective internship with Target, he was extended a position with the retail giant. Jody quickly moved up the corporate ladder and now manages the largest Target store in Richmond. In addition to his career successes, you will often see Jody on the Longwood campus. He works actively with Longwood students, having contributed at internship seminars and recruiting during career fairs. He recently participated in a young alumni panel for Longwood freshmen to discuss the challenges and opportunities of being a college student. We ask that you congratulate Mr. Jody Sauls, this year's Rising Star Alumni Award winner. Thank you very much for your time this evening. I hope I kept it around 5 minutes. Enjoy the program.
By the way, Jody's also been hired for a brand new job that's going to start next month. He shared it with me tonight. He's going to be a new dad. Okay? For his first job. As we talked about, that is the greatest job you could ever have. You're going to love it, Jody. You're going to be a great dad. And your wife, who's with him, is going to be a great mom. I didn't want to leave you out. All right, this year's theme for the Executive in Residence series is Global Leadership Values. And in this, we will be learning more about how American industry continues to provide valued leadership around the world. Sponsored by Barrett Capital Management, the Executive in Residence series features today's most distinguished and influential business leaders. These leaders share their experiences and insights on economic development that works to provide and preserve vital natural resources, including the values that empower the most precious of all of our assets, the people that are linked together in circles of influence spanning international boundaries. Our speakers let us peek in on their fair trade practices, responsible stewardship, peace through commerce, and much more. Tonight's guest speaker is another highly influential global business leader. In terms of business experience and effectiveness, I can say, because I know from her story, she has lived more in any decade than many of us could claim in a lifetime. For example, she has been a pioneer in the profession of law when female attorneys were still viewed with skepticism. But she broke that glass ceiling and became a litigation department chair for a major law firm. Today, she is the corporate department chair. She was a corporate department chair for a major law firm. Today, she is the corporate general counsel for a Fortune 300 company. She is one of two members that have held senior vice president positions at the company who are female. And she manages the mergers and acquisitions and legal affairs of this amazing firm. If all of that wasn't enough, she writes, speaks, and offers her time as a mentor to everyone open to learning about work-family life balance. She is a true citizen leader, and we are extremely fortunate to have her with us this evening. But before our speaker is introduced, I would like to recognize some special guests. Our sponsor for tonight's event, from Barrett Capital Management, we have Mr. David Barrett, CEO. Students, I please ask you to take note of the next person I'm going to introduce, because it's always good to say something good about your boss. We also have with us the provost of Longwood University, Dr. Ken Perkins, my boss. He's a good boss. Finally, it is my pleasure to present to you the individual who actually will introduce our speaker. Ms. Candace Owens is a senior at Longwood. She's originally from Churchview, Virginia. She will be completing the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration degree in accounting this May. In addition to her membership in Phi Beta Lambda, the chapter for the Future Business Leaders of America, she is a member of the Cormier Honors College, the Dean Student Advisory Board in the College of Business and Economics, the Virginia Society of CPAs, and the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. And she has fit this activity into an amazing schedule that also includes work as a math tutor at Longwood. And she regularly is a high school lecturer to help students who want to prepare for their college career. In her spare time, she has toured prospective students, families, and others around campus as a Longwood ambassador. She continues to excel in the classroom and holds a cumulative GPA of 3.478. And through each of these activities, I know Candace has learned and applied solid leadership skills. Personally, I would love to be able to buy stock in her career. It's going to be amazing. She already has a job. Please join me in welcoming to the podium one of the best students at Longwood, Candace Owens.
Thank you, Dean Barrett. You always know how to make us all proud. Well, tonight is definitely a honoring of a lovely lady I got to know at lunch, and she inspired me to actually travel some more. I traveled to Thailand as studying abroad, and she actually incited me to go to China. So I'm really excited. In 2003, Grace Den Hartog joined Owens Minor as Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and Corporate Secretary of Owens Minor, a Fortune 500 company headquartered in Richmond, Virginia, is the country's largest distributor of medical and surgical supplies to the acute care market and a leading provider of healthcare supply chain management solutions. Prior to joining Owens Minor, Ms. Hartog was a partner with the law firm of McGuire Woods in 1990 all the way to 2003. During her trial law career, she only lost one jury case, which is amazing, to say the least. In 2009, she received the Executive Women in Business Achievement Award, sponsored by Ernst & Young, Troutman, Sanders, and Style magazine. The National Law Journal named her one of America's top 50 female litigators in 2001, which is a great accomplishment. I hope you will learn from her unique experiences and advice that she will be giving tonight. Now, please help me in welcoming Ms. Grace Hartog.
Do a Jennifer Lawrence trip on the stairs. Good evening, everyone. It's such a treat for me to be here. And before I start with my remarks, I just want to give you a little heads up. I have had a respiratory thing, and I've been prone to some coughing spasms. I'm not going to die, but I may just really, I've got cough drops here in water, so just sit tight. I'll be right back, and we'll keep on going. But welcome back from spring break, everybody. It's truly an honor to be on the Longwood University campus today. You know, I don't think I have ever been on this campus until today. But I've always heard about Longwood. And I heard about Longwood from my grandmother. My grandmother's name was Mary Gertrude Painter Robinson, and she was a Longwood graduate. She traveled from Marion, Virginia, when she was 18 years old in 1915 as a young woman. And at that time, Longwood was called, and I have to read this to get it right, the State Normal School for Women at Farmville. My husband told me I really shouldn't say that tonight, but I said I was going to tell him it's part of the history. But my grandmother loved Farmville, and she loved Longwood. And I can remember the stories as a little girl she used to tell me, and she met her future husband while she was a student here. He wasn't a Hampton Sydney guy. He was a baseball player at Richmond College in Richmond down the road. So they married after graduation, and they returned to the coal country of southwestern Virginia. He was an accountant for the railroad, and she was a school teacher. They raised a family of 3 children, and they lived in the same town, in the same little house in Norton, Virginia, until they both died. Now, in those days, her decision to leave home as an 18-year-old young woman and pursue a college career clear across the state was a novelty. And in fact, I think you could argue it was courageous. But in any event, traveling from Marion to Farmville or to Richmond, she may as well have been traveling to a foreign land. So that's my connection with Longwood. I'm so proud of it. She would be proud of me today. Makes me tear up. But here's another synergistic fact about Longwood that I discovered while I was preparing for this evening. Longwood is just about the same age as Owens Minor, the company I work for. How about that? Longwood opens its doors 129 years ago. Owens Minor was established 131 years ago by Ortho Owens and G. Gilmer Minor, Jr. as a wholesale drug company in Richmond, Virginia. Today, we're a $9 billion Fortune 300 company, and Longwood University is one of the premier institutions ranked by U.S. World and News Report and Forbes magazine. So we share the rich heritage of successful institutions who have survived and thrived throughout the decades of dramatic change. And I believe that the reason for our success lies in our locally grown values and culture. The world has changed dramatically in the past 130 years for both higher education and American business. Tonight, I will share with you some of my perspectives on global leadership values and what that means for a company such as mine that is locally grown and who, after 130 years, has decided to grow globally. But before we get started, I would like to ask all of the students in the audience who consider yourselves to be Virginians, from Virginia, whether you were born here, whether you raised here, whether you moved here, but you call Virginia your home. If you would stand up, please. Wow, look at that. A lot of locally grown students here. Okay, now sit down. I got something else I want you to do. Okay. Asking the students again, those of you who have traveled to Africa, would you mind standing? Keep standing. Those of you who have traveled to the Far East, whether it's China, India, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, any of those countries. Great. Keep standing. How about Europe? Any of those of you have traveled to Europe? South America, Latin America, Central America, Australia, New Zealand. Wow. Wow. That's you've got a very well-traveled student body here, Paul. Thank you. Thank you. I think the point is, and I wanted to relate that, tie that, in about 12 years ago, Jack Welch, do you all know Jack Welch? He's the retired iconic CEO, chairman of General Electric. But right before he retired, he gave a speech to his employees, and I quote, "The Jack Welch of the future cannot be me. I spent my entire career in the United States. The next head of GE will be someone who has spent time in Hong Kong, Bombay, Buenos Aires, Rio de Janeiro. We have to send our best and our brightest overseas to make sure that they have the training that will allow them to be the global leaders who will make GE flourish in the future." Like most of you, I'm locally grown. I've lived in Virginia all my life. I'm a small-town girl from southwestern Virginia. See if you recognize this. Anybody? Galax, home of the oldest bluegrass fiddlers convention in the world. In the world. I went to college at the University of Richmond. It was not called University of Richmond when I attended. It was the women's college there, which was West Hampton College. After I graduated from college, I worked for 3 years, and then I went to law school at the University of Virginia. I never traveled abroad until I was 42 years old, just 20 years ago. After law school, I joined McGuire Woods, and I was one of a handful of female associate lawyers. In fact, I was the first associate there to have a baby. That was not easy. At that time, McGuire Woods was pretty much Virginia-based. It had offices in Richmond, Norfolk, Charlottesville, and Northern Virginia, and there were just a little over 100 lawyers. Today, like most major U.S. law firms, McGuire Woods has offices all over the globe and thousands of lawyers. I had no international experience when I joined Owens Minor as its general counsel 10 years ago. But that was okay because Owens Minor only had customers and did business in the U.S. All of that changed a year ago. In early 2012, we entered into a joint venture with a Chinese-based company to work directly with Chinese manufacturers to produce our private label brand of medical products. And there it is. There it is. Before that, we were using third parties to source our products, and we decided that we wanted to be more directly involved in the selection of the factories to ensure the high quality that we wanted in our products. And also, by eliminating that third party, we increased our profit margin. So we formed a new company called Mira, M-I-R-A. We opened an office in Shanghai, and we hired about a dozen Chinese nationals from our joint venture partner who had the experience needed to run this business. We also decided to send one of our own teammates from the home office. Actually, it was one of my lawyers. And we wanted someone to be there to live and work in Shanghai in this new global venture to make sure we had information, the right information coming back across to us in the U.S., and also to start spreading, educating our new teammates about the Owens Minor way of doing business and our culture. Then again, in July, just 8 months ago, we decided to bid on a healthcare logistics business that was part of a large pharmaceutical wholesale company in Europe. This logistics business offered a pan-European platform from which we could provide logistics and healthcare supply management services similar to those that we provided to our customers here in the U.S. There you go. Number 4. The name of that business unit is called Movianto, and it has 22 facilities spread across 11 countries and nearly 2,000 employees. We were successful in the bid, and we closed the transaction in October, just last year, 4 or 5 months ago. So, think about this. In the space of 10 months, this 130-year-old company went from domestic only to acquiring operations and employees from London to Shanghai, connecting the world to medical products to the point of care. And you just got a sneak preview of our annual report cover. This is it, and it's going out to press this week. So with this dramatic change comes the responsibilities and the challenges of leading a new workforce of different cultures, different languages. How do we manage and lead in an uncertain environment with economic instability at home and across Europe? This new global business environment requires new leadership competencies to effectively manage under shifting global conditions. Every February, Owens Minor brings its management teams from across the country together for a leadership conference. It's about 150, 200 of us. And we gather together for about 2.5 days to receive updates on the business, discuss the plans and the goals for the coming year, and basically just to spend time with one another. We usually have an outside speaker, someone nationally prominent in the business community, or a motivational type speaker. Well, we just concluded our meeting 3 weeks ago, and this year we had the editor-in-chief from Fortune magazine, and I wanted to share with you what he shared with us. He spoke to us about what he's been hearing from the top major corporate CEOs of companies across this country about the changes of maintaining a sustainable competitive advantage and how to compete in this slow-growing economy. Innovating the business model, managing for value, not for profit or earnings per share, and continued investment in human capital were strategies that he identified as keys to sustainability in the future. But the overarching and absolutely critical facilitator for any of these strategies to be successful is the presence of a strong ethical culture. He told us it used to be that when he talked to CEOs, they didn't want to talk about culture or ethics. It was too soft, squishy, wasn't very businesslike. All of that has changed today. That's all the CEOs want to talk about. And in every sector, leaders today recognize the significance of the role that culture plays in their organization's performance, and they're more focused on defining and highlighting the shared values and guiding principles of their organizations. What does culture mean in the vast majority of our businesses in the U.S.? Well, what it means is people do what's important, they do what's honorable, they do what's right, even when no one else is looking. That's what a strong ethical culture means. Culture overrides everything else. So we may be locally grown at Owens Minor, but our team-centric culture permeates our company from the most senior executive officer to the hourly worker who's loading the products on the truck, from the warehouse in Portland, Oregon, to the finance department in the home office. It's anchored in our commitment to honesty and integrity in our business dealings and the mutual respect and support our teammates have for one another. Ours is a culture that has been nurtured and protected for decades. It's not the product of some industrial psychologist consultant or a knee-jerk executive pronouncement. All 5,000, now 7,000 employees are teammates. You will never hear the word employee at Owens Minor, not even in our official written documents with the SEC. We're all called teammates. And I'm very happy that the head coach and our chief cheerleader of the Owens Minor team are here with us tonight. And I'm honored to introduce to you our chairman of the board, Gil Minor, who is also our retired CEO, and our head cheerleader, Hugh Goldthorpe. Would you please stand, please? Yeah. Gil and Hugh have retired as working teammates, but they will always be our coach and our cheerleader. At Owens Minor, we celebrate the success of the team, not the individual, because every accomplishment is a team effort, not an individual one. And we take care of our teammates and we give back to our communities. Volunteerism is a huge component of our culture. Our teammates work with charities and they fundraise for charities, and they work in their communities. At the core of our culture is our commitment to integrity and the highest ethical standards. Every year, every teammate is required to review and to certify his or her commitment to abide by our standards of conduct and our rules of ethical behavior. Throughout the year, managers across the country gather their teammates to discuss ethical issues that confront our teammates in their work every day. We call our standards of conduct our code of honor. And every teammate has to take a course every year that he or she has to answer the questions to make sure they understand what our rules of conduct are all about. And then they have to actually sign a document certifying their commitment to abide by these ethical rules. These aren't just for our teammates. Every member of our board of directors, every officer, every teammate is required every year to sign a commitment. So, how does a locally grown company like Owens Minor transition its culture and values to teammates halfway around the world? Maybe the first question we should ask is, why should we even think about imposing our values and culture on these new teammates who grew up and live in very different cultures, speak different languages, have different thinking patterns, and who may or may not share our values? What makes us think our way is better? These are important questions with no easy answers, questions that each of you will no doubt face in your business careers. While we at Owens Minor don't pretend to have the answers, our commitment to ethics, integrity, and character compels us to insist upon these values and behaviors for all of our teammates, no matter where they live and work. And so we have embarked on the process of educating and sharing our principles and values with all of our new teammates. We have provided Mandarin translation of our Code of Honor to our Shanghai teammates. We have engaged facilitators in China to assist our Shanghai teammates in understanding what these principles mean. We're now in the process of producing our Code of Honor in French, in Spanish, in German, in Danish, in Czech, all for our new Movianto teammates. The senior leadership team has made a number of trips to Europe and China in the past 10 months, visiting each of the new facilities and spending time with these new teammates. And we had the Movianto and the Mira teammates, management teammates, come to Richmond for our leadership conference that I mentioned just 3 weeks ago. Our U.S. teams are working closely every day with our teammates in China and across Europe, sharing best practices and coordinating business activities. Technology is a huge enabler in our ability to communicate effectively with one another. There are challenges and risks ahead. Business practices that are acceptable in China and in other cultures are not acceptable in the United States or to our Code of Honor. For example, in China, it's standard practice to pay money or gifts to government bureaucrats and inspectors if you have an application pending, if you've got a license to renew, or if you just want to expedite the process. It's part of the business culture. But that kind of activity is prohibited under our Code of Honor and could be illegal under the laws of the United States. The newspapers are rife with instances of companies who have been investigated by the SEC and by the Justice Department who have incurred significant fines for breaches of the federal laws governing these kinds of favors and payments. It's a tremendous challenge for any U.S.-based CEO because he or she can't be involved in every transaction, can't know exactly what is going on. So we have to trust our teammates and help them to understand and follow our standards of conduct. A few years ago, Owens Minor was considering the purchase of a medical product distribution business in Barcelona, Spain. It was a family-owned company, and the father and his 2 sons, who had owned and managed the business for 30-some years, had decided to sell. It was a very attractive business, and the family had grown the business such that it was the 3rd largest in Spain at the time. At that time, we were looking for opportunities to expand into Europe, and this company looked like a good candidate. I traveled over to Barcelona with 2 of my colleagues from Owens Minor, and we met with the principals of the company. We studied the financials. We met with the management team. We had dinner with the owners. We had a very productive 2.5 days meeting and reviewing all of the data. We liked what we saw. We liked the people, and it looked like a good opportunity. As the second day came to a close, the CEO chairman, the owner of the company, said at the end of the day, he said he had something he needed to share with us before we left, because we had told him that we were serious about pursuing this opportunity. And what he said was, I know Owens Minor, I know you have a reputation for high ethical standards, and there's something you need to know before you go any further with this transaction. In Spain, the practice and the culture is that his company, as did others, would make gifts, favors, to physicians and surgeons who had the ability to influence the purchasing decisions that a hospital made. So contracts for products that were awarded by the hospital were heavily influenced by that surgeon's input. And he told us that his business had been built, as had all the others, with favors and gifts to physicians. And he felt like we needed to know that. He told us, even though he knew it would probably kill the deal, and it did. But for instance, he had just funded the Mercedes of one of the physicians that he did business with. So, the cultures are different, and you have to be aware. We are not naive enough at Owens Minor to believe that our new global teammates will just jump on board with our cultural values. It will require time with constant communication, education, and vigilance, and we must also appreciate and respect the complexity of different social environments which are now part of our company. As leaders, we must also have a fine-tuned awareness of cultural synergies and the ability to engage in continuous learning. These are new leadership competencies for us, competencies that must be developed. For our worldwide organization to be successful. However, the values and the cultures that have served our company well for over 130 years will guide our global thinking, and I believe will ensure the success of a global Owens Minor today and in the decades to come. In this era, every one of you will be a global leader. Whether you are leading a team of 2 or 2,000 or 200,000, your locally grown values, those you developed as a child and now as a student of business from this institution with a 130-year tradition of excellence and integrity, will form the foundation of your leadership abilities and inform your global thinking. Be proud of your locally grown values. Use them to build a culture of integrity and caring, and lead with commitment and confidence. Our future depends upon it. Now, since this is the year of women leaders in your executive in residence program, I wanted to leave you with the wisdom of 2 female leaders who I think personify global thinking. The first is my age, but she never ages. She's a little bit bossy. She's a great businesswoman with no shortage of self-confidence. Clearly, the world is Lucy's oyster. The second is Condoleezza Rice. I close with a simple quote from Secretary Rice at the 2012 Global Leadership Summit that I believe captures the essence of global leadership values. Quote, "Great leaders never accept the world as it is and always work for the world as it should be." End quote. Thank you.
Who's got a question for Mr. Hartog? Anybody? You have an executive here. Don't let this go. This is not material. You don't get that often. Yes. Right here. First.
With expanding overseas to Europe and China, as you said, I'm sure there's a lot that you guys do that companies over there have either never seen or don't do. Is there anything that they did that you guys maybe hadn't thought of or that you now implement in America in your practice?
It's a great question, Dan. Thank you. And the truth is, I'm sure there are, but we're just getting into this. So I'm sure there's a lot that we can learn from our European teammates and the way they do business. I will tell you one thing that directly impacts the area that I lead, and that is in Europe, the healthcare system is very highly regulated. it's a different delivery system there. And so I've toured a number of these facilities, and I've met with a number of the teammates there. These are very sophisticated facilities. I mean, you could eat off the floor in them. They all wear white coats. They're very, very compliant, very sensitive to the regulatory environment, and work very hard to make sure they have a quality program there. So those are practices I want to import into some of our facilities and into our culture as well. So I'm sure we're going to learn more. At Owens, oh gosh. Can I tell him, Gil? I was, as I said, I was a partner at McGuire Woods, and I was not a business lawyer. I was a product liability trial lawyer, and that's all I had ever done. When I decided to leave McGuire Woods and join Owens Minor, I was national counsel for Ford Motor Company, and traveled around the country trying cases for them involving fuel tank fires. Tough stuff, really tough stuff. And as it happened, the general counsel for Owens Minor was retiring, and Gil and I knew each other, and he called me one day and he said, "Drew's retiring. Would you be interested in talking to us about this position?" And I said, "Gil, listen, you don't want me. I'm a trial lawyer. I don't know anything about business. I've never represented Owens Minor. I don't know anything about corporate law." And during that time period, the Sarbanes-Oxley legislation had just been enacted and had turned corporate America upside down in terms of all of the new regulations. And I said, "I don't know anything about that." So Gil said to me, as he is typical Gil, he said, "I know all that, Grace. I know all that, but just come talk to us. Just see what you think." So I did, and here I am. And it was, short of marrying my husband, it was the best decision I've ever made. It's been a real treat. I've learned a lot. I learn something new every single day. And I work with the best people in the world. So, what's not to like?
But just so it's clear, because I happen to know from the Owens Minor leadership that her accepting it over the last, and working with the House, it would be a win-win for both parties. I want to make sure that is out. Okay?
Yes.
How does Owens Minor give back to the societies that it comes in touch with?
Okay. I'm happy to answer that question. In every locality where we have a distribution center and teammates, those teammates in that area choose and identify the kinds of charities and organizations that they want to participate in on a volunteer basis. We allow our teammates to take time off from work to go volunteer, to serve. We host fundraising events. We participate in probably, 50 10Ks across the country for charities. We help sponsor charitable events. It is part of the fabric of who we are, and you're not a teammate at Owens Minor if you're not giving back to your community. That's the way we look at it, and that's how the management team views it, and we encourage all of our teammates to participate in that way. Any others? No.
Getting culture change implemented often seems to be very difficult, and you're undertaking it in a lot of different cultures. How has that been received? To what extent do you find it easy to do or very difficult to achieve?
It's going to be a challenge, there's no doubt, but I will tell you, I think that we have the scales tipped in our favor on this. And the reason I say that is because I personally and others on the management team spent a fair amount of time with the new management team members before we actually made the transaction, made the offer, because culture is such a keystone for us that we weren't about to embark on this global growth expansion unless we felt really good about the people we were partnering with and that they shared our values and our cultures, recognizing, of course, that they're different, but the core values, and it clicked. It's kind of, it, when you see it. When you walk into a house, you're looking for a new house, you kind of know whether it feels good. So we went to a number of these facilities. We spent a lot of time with the management teams before we even made the bid. And so we've got some work to do, but I feel really good that we're going to be able to pull this off in terms of getting everybody on the same page here. They're great people. They really are. They're lovely.
Grace, we know in the real world that there needs to be a balance in leadership in any organization. Certainly there's been a lot said and a lot written about women coming into more leadership positions. Certainly men have always been there, and some have pushed back, but some have embraced it. But what can we do to make sure that that balance continues to go forward? To have all thoughts and cultures and representatives at the table when the decisions are made, because that's our society today.
It is. Thank you. And I answer that drawing on my own experience, and my experience will be different from other women. I have been very blessed with opportunities, and I've taken advantage of the opportunities. And it's not easy. I can tell you just on my experience with Ford. I mean, it doesn't get more macho than a car company, let me tell you. And I was, I was the only one out there trying their cases, the only female out there trying their cases. But let me tell you why. And I was sharing this with Joe earlier, I think, at the reception. Ford recognized, and this is back in the 90s, Ford recognized that it was losing its shirt with the number of juries in its cases, because 60 to 70 to 80% of the jury that was making the decision was women. And they didn't have any women taking their side and talking to women on the jury. So they were smart enough to realize that they needed to change the mix there. And so I became involved with them and worked with them and ended up serving as their national counsel. And Candace, I'm not sure where you got that statistic of one case, but I did lose one case. I lost a couple more, but I got them reversed on appeal. So, but I did lose one that I couldn't get reversed. But you have to, as you said, Gil, you have to reflect the audience, the people that you work for, your customers, your suppliers, your colleagues. And what I fear now, because women have made such tremendous advances, what I fear now is that the women who are in the position that I'm in, I'm very fortunate, but it's up to me to make sure that the younger women following behind me have the same opportunities, because I've seen women create roadblocks for those behind them, and that's a huge mistake. So we have to make sure that we are opening the doors, making opportunities, allowing younger women coming behind us to have the same opportunities and not to clog, much less break through a ceiling, not to clog it for them. So that's my perspective on it. Yes.
Grace, you're a high achiever, you accomplish a lot. So share with the audience about what is the key element, what's the key driver make you being accomplished so much today? What is its essence, essential product?
Well, first of all, I loved what I do. I loved being a lawyer at McGraw-Woods. I loved trying cases. I loved my clients. I can't sit down very long. So I have a lot of energy, and I wanted to do things. I wanted to make things happen. And that's why this opportunity with Owens Minor was so appealing, because I'd kind of done it all in my legal career, and here was an opportunity to do something totally different, learn something totally new, and at age 51, those opportunities don't come around very often. So that was very exciting. But I think the key to my personal success is credibility. I think that's why I was successful with juries. I think they believed me. I think my teammates, the people that I work with, they believe me. And that's all part of the culture of integrity and high ethical standards, because I think you have to be human, and I think you have to be approachable, and I think you have to believe in what you're doing. So that's my answer.
Okay, amazing. Grace, our Student Sponsoring Association has a special gift for you, and then I have one as well.
Oh, thank you.
On behalf of Longwood University, Phi Beta Lambda, and the College of Business and Economics, I'd like to present you with these two gifts.
Thank you, Candace. Oh, we have a photo.
Yeah, we have a photo
We have
op.
a photo op.
Want it further? Okay.
Great, thank you.
So amongst the many things that I personally learned tonight, and hopefully all of your students particularly, but the entire community learned, if you find your passion, and if you do the right thing, as I say, even if it's popular, and even when nobody's looking, regardless of what others think, do the right thing, find your passion, you have the chance to achieve, as Ms. Den Hartog has, in an amazing firm like Owens Minor. You got to put a stake in the ground for values, and you're going to be fine. We have another gift for you tonight. Nicole Simmons, are you in the audience, just by chance? She's probably studying for a final. I'm sure she is. Nicole Simmons is on the Lancers women's softball team.
Oh, wow.
And what we're awarding you tonight is the actual home run that she hit in a game, NCAA game. And the reason we're giving you this home run baseball, Grace, is because all day today, and certainly this evening, you were hitting home runs for us.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you.
God bless you. All right, thank you, Grace. We got a photo opportunity.
Another.
We're supposed to another photo.
Oh, thank you. Pretty soon I'm going to use it.
Okay. Thank you, Grace. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.